spend adequately on our military and on our human welfare. Without that, what we are really doing is we are using a very small national resource pie and distributing it to these various nodes of security, and none of them are able to get enough. And then we get into this debate on whether military defense spending is more or development is more. Actually, the genius of policy is to ensure that your national resource pie grows to a point where you can redistribute it adequately to everyone. But the ultimate goal of national security, as we look at it, is to ensure that the most disempowered Pakistani citizen has a means to livelihood and personal safety and security. That is the ultimate objective of national security. So Prime Minister often talks about Riyasat-e-Madina. I mean, that's one connotation. What is the conversation in the national security domain? It is basically that the poorest, most disempowered Pakistani family is also able to be safe and secure and have a means to livelihood. And the supposition, of course, is that if that is there, then everybody above them will, of course, be getting more of their share in terms of safety, security and livelihood. So that's the approach we're taking. Now the next question you can ask is, how do we get there? On paper this is okay, but then what are we doing to achieve it? So I hope all of you have heard one way or another, all of our leadership regularly talk about Pakistan's shift from a geopolitical to a geo-economic paradigm, which is actually a transformation in terms of the thinking. For 70 years we've talked about our location as being our most important strategic dividend. Every time we talk about it, crossroads of South Asia, Central Asia. But if you think about it, in the past, the location has actually brought us global wars, proxy staging ground. Afghanistan is a very good example for the past 40 years. What we are looking at is how do we utilize our location as a geo-economic location, which has three pillars. Number one is connectivity. Given our location, if we can use where we sit to connect south from north, westward and east theoretically, then you... So in terms of policy, you may have noticed a very strong shift towards Central Asia. That has been an area that has been closed for a long time. But you've seen, I think, 2 or 3 or 4 major visits, including just last week by the Prime Minister. Because Central Asia connected through Afghanistan down to our warm waters is by far the most economical route for Central Asia, gives Afghanistan a lot of transit fees, and of course Pakistan benefits tremendously. And that's why the Gwadar port becomes central. Second is CPEC. That's the north-south corridor. Again, the idea is basically connecting China down to the warm waters for their global trade. And Pakistan becomes the transit territory. Too much is said about CPEC and strategic project and this project and that project. Basically, if you understand the overall umbrella, the vision, it's very clear what CPEC is trying to achieve, which is more infrastructure, more energy and transit through Pakistan. That's essentially what it is. And then theoretically, we can also extend connectivity eastward. Unfortunately, that flank is closed because of the kind of government attitude, behavior and trajectory that India has. The current mindset of this government, the Hindutva ideology, etc., there's very little rational conversation that's possible. But theoretically, that also at some point can open up. So connectivity is the first pillar of this vision. The second one is development partnerships with the world. Not assistance. Of course, Pakistan will require assistance for the foreseeable future. How do we create real partnerships in terms of trade, investment, export, FDI and all of the rest? For that, of course, a lot has to be done internally as well. You know, investors are going to come, it's like osmosis. Wherever there's the path of least resistance, they will come. And so we have to ensure that that particular aspect we improve on, but that's sort of how we are operating or interacting with the world. Now, both these cannot be fulfilled unless a third element is in the mix. which is internal and regional peace. That is why you see so much effort going into ensuring the writ of the state across the board, ensuring that there are no domestic fault lines that can be misused. You've seen Pakistan's counter-terrorism performance, alhamdulillah, since 2007 and where we are today. And then regionally, Afghanistan is probably the best example. Even India, frankly, there is enough in the news to know that there was a conversation to see whether there's any way forward. I'm disappointed to inform you that it's very unfortunate the direction today's India is going and what is happening there. And the sooner the world opens their eyes to the fact that it has now been...
मुशीर क़ौमी सलामती मोईद यूसुफ इस वक्त तकरीब से खिताब कर रहे हैं। वापस आएंगे इस ब्रेक के बाद।